and you probably should know about, is that she didn't wear her tiara today, but she's not only district governor and owner of a Golden Valley business in financial planning, but she's also a goddess of financial planning. So you don't need to bow down to her because she does have modesty's next to goddesty. So so at any rate, if you would come and do your presentation, that would be just. I'll get you there in just a second.
The screen's there.
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Yay.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
So wonderful to have you here.
So, who in the room doesn't know me? Fabulous. I've got new people. Now, first of all, I'd like to say a really big thank you to Mary for being here. She is your assistant governor. They're effectively the coaches of all of the clubs, so she's assigned to 4 or 5 clubs that she goes and helps. She is a dynamo. She is truly one of our strongest assistant governors. She is just incredible. We're interviewing her for our first newsletter, so she'll be highlighted in it, and she's just she is just marvelous. We took them to the Vikings stadium and went into the locker room, and it really was. We had a full coach day. I had, the silent disco earphones. We had those for them, and I had gameplay. And I don't watch American football, but I had gameplay instructions for them. Although I just watched Ted Lasso, so I'm much more informed now. So I'll start a little bit by telling you a little bit about myself. Is that I have a wealth management firm. We were down in the IDS for 15 years, but we just moved to the Pentair building about 3 years ago. So I'm literally 6 minutes away from you. We have a huge meeting room and a golf simulator. So if your club ever needs a big meeting room or wants to do something around a golf simulator, it's yours for free because I'm your neighbor, and that's what good neighbors do. So I'm just down the road. And I was born in the UK, but my dad worked for an American oil company. So I moved countries every couple of years. So this is me in the Congo when I was a kid. That was my first passport photo. And of course, living there, I didn't have the regular chicken pox or measles or mumps. I just had malaria. And my dad has just had dengue fever twice. And so we're the family of the tropical diseases. But I learned very, very young how lucky I was. I saw abject poverty from when I was a very, very young child, and I really learned that it was my obligation to, again, whatever I've received, to give back and share with others as well. So Rotary was always, just the perfect place for me to land. And I also say that I joined Rotary 21 years ago, and I belong to Minneapolis Club 9, who is the mother and grandmother of all of the clubs. So I always like to remind everybody. But when I've been trained with all of my international district governors, I always tell them that service above self came from our club, and I'm just insanely proud of our district. But I've wanted this job for 12 years because Brian, my presidential year was my favorite year of my life. I literally was flying during that year, and I thought, if something happens now, I'm ending on top. It was perfect. And so I thought, well, the only thing that could improve that is to be district governor after being president. But I was an employee at the time, and my employer had been very generous in letting me be president, but being district governor was just too much. So I bought him out 6 years ago, and I thought, so now I can do exactly what I like when I want. And believe me, I'm having the time of my life. And effectively, it's made us the largest firm in Minnesota and Florida that's wholly owned by a woman. So it's just wild. And I can tell you that, and the reason I've shared that is in addition to pride, but it was actually because of Rotary. I arrived there as a director of operations. My club took me under their wing. The senior members mentored me. They taught me how to public speak. They taught me my leadership skills, and so I truly would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my Rotary Club. And so this year is my Give Back Tour, because I've just been so thankful for everything I've received, and so now it's time to give back. So the last couple of years I've actually been studying around the world with all different district governors to learn about what really works in other countries and other clubs, to bring that back to our district. So this year I didn't want it to be ceremonial, but really very action-packed. So our district governor line is Mark Shockey and Leif Hagen, and they both follow me. If you don't know, Mark is a pastor, and I tell everybody that they're going to need him after my year, because you're going to really need a lot of cuddles and just say, it's all right, my child. And so he's really a lot of fun. We have self-titled ourselves the Triple Ripple, because our thought was that little ripples turn into big waves of new members and new activities and new fun. When Tom Gump and my husband were having some flambé drink in Vancouver, they both said, oh, it kind of sounds like an ice cream, Sharon, Triple Ripple. And so I said, okay. So I've actually gone to an ice cream Minnesota company that's agreed to make ice cream for us for Rotary, called the Triple Ripple. I'll probably be the nut in it. But it's going to be a real giggle. So we'll be selling that at a couple of different times for membership. So who doesn't want to eat ice cream for a good cause? I don't know. So anyway, so that's the Triple Ripple. And then the next leadership is Stephanie Urchik. So she's our new incoming president. And so the magic of Rotary is her theme, and she was down in South America doing a water filtration project, and the water was coming out very dirty and went through the filter and came out beautifully clean. And there was a little boy that pointed at it, and he said, wow, that's magic. And that's where she brought it from. So it's just beautiful. She is a visionary, she's strategic, she has sat on the strategy committee for Rotary for a very long time. A lot of the things that are coming out now are due to her. She is absolutely marvelous. She's very goal-driven. So she has made her district governors goal-driven, and then we've also been talking to presidents about their goals as well. Rotary has been a little light on goals for probably the last 3 or 4 years, but Stephanie is she's an action-packed lady. When I was installed as district governor, there is a line on the budget where they buy a gift for the incoming district governor, and I said, oh, I want for nothing. Please take it up. I don't want a gift. And so Alexa, who's our executive director, said, oh, okay, I'll agree to that. But I actually collect shoes of very, very famous women. So I have Margaret, Thatcher, oh, you name it, I probably have it. And so Stephanie Urchik sent her shoes for my installation, which was adorable. And they're crocodile and high-heeled and very sexy. And I thought, she is going to be one to watch this year. So that was just really thrilling. So now let's talk a little bit about you and your club. So when I look at your club recognition summary, so this is the amount of money you have given since you started your inception of your club. Excuse me, your all-time giving is $458,011, and that's massive. I mean, you should all be giving yourselves high fives, cuddles, cheers to yourselves. That's a tremendous amount of money. And you can see every year you are so generous, and you blow through your goals. And last year, again, you were almost at $10,000. And so if you think about it, you've got $40,000 to go until you get to $500,000. And that should be like the biggest blowout celebration. You should literally go out on the streets of Golden Valley and just yell it all day long that what you've done. And so what I ask you is that you might think about this year. Again, it is, it would be 4x kind of your usual raise, but the sooner you get there, the faster we can celebrate, and so it's something to consider. And we can certainly help you during the year. So your club is absolutely wow. There are very few clubs that have achieved that milestone, and you are just careening towards that $500,000 mark, and that's just tremendous. And so for my lovely neighbour who was just in Sweden, she's joined your club 15 months ago. This slide is for you. And I heard that there's a fabulous church around that has a lot of members that come here as well. And so I'm thinking, I wonder who else we can go and maybe you should talk about the $500,000 in that area. But this slide tells you really how Rotary that the world is truly your oyster. Many people say, and in many service organizations, is that, well, you know, why do I have to join something? I could do a little charity at home. And as you know, the new society doesn't really join things, and they feel like they want to do charity on their own terms. And what I say to people that are thinking about it is that when you join Rotary, you have 1.4 million new friends around the world, and you truly do. I mean, they're all there to help you and to do different projects together, and the world is truly your oyster there. And if you combine that with the fact that Rotary International also has a $2 billion foundation endowment, you truly can do anything. There were two gentlemen that walked over and helped start the United Nations. When I was at my district governor training, there was a wonderful gentleman from Bangladesh, and he said that there'd been a project that Rotary had done many, many years ago in his country, and it was to create a new fish farm. And I said, oh, that's really amazing. You know, I've always thought I'd love to have a fish farm. I'd love to have lobsters that have to listen to classical music all day for 7 years, and then you know they'll be happier. So I've always thought, so I thought it was a really interesting topic. And he started tearing up. And I said, tell me more about this project. And he said, I don't know whether you realize, but Bangladesh is the 4th largest fish farmer in the world at this point. And so if you think about kind of where Rotary was and what it did, if you look at Julia Childs, she wrote her first cookbook at age 50. So for some of us, I say, oh, you know, it's for Rotary is for the young people to do more things. Like, no, we can all start right now and just connect with people and do that. And there are a million friends around the world. If doctors wanted to get together and create something together, it's just amazing. You know, the amount of connectedness within Rotary clubs is huge. Has anybody gone and visited Rotary clubs when you go abroad? Yes, and isn't that just the most fabulous thing? And you come back with all sorts of new friends. So now let's look at your membership. So if we look back, and this goes back to 2011, you had a high in your club at that point of 34 members. And as of the 10th of June this year, you had 25 members and had gained 4 members last year, which is tremendous. When we look at membership overall, in our district, 75% of our clubs are just staying the same or declining, and only 25% are growing. So there is something in the water in Golden Valley, because this is to grow 19% in a single year is just a banner year. And again, this is something that this building, you should all be running around, jumping for joy, because this is actually absolutely exceptional and really, really brilliant. And when I look at Golden Valley as a kind of a city, you can see you've got 22,000 as a population, and so you have 2,000 people roughly per square mile in Golden Valley. So if you think about it, you've got 25 people in your club, but every mile you can run into 2,000 people that are prospective members of your club. So that's huge opportunity. That's huge. I mean, if one falls down on the sidewalk, you can give them a membership, oh, would you like to join while you're there? I'll help you up. And so truly, but if you look at those numbers, you can see how it's very easy to think, we have a club in our district that really grew by up to 75 members within 3 years. So if you want to, you can. And again, with the Ted Lasso, you just have to believe, and you can make it. And I do believe that. So one of the things that's really important to Rotary is increasing our membership. We are number 10 in the world when it comes to fundraising, which again is truly amazing if you think about it, because other districts include cities like New York or San Francisco or Tokyo or Singapore. And so it's just the wildest thing in the world to know that we're number 10 in the world. So that's tremendous. But on membership, we're really quite far down. And so one of the things that I've done in my run up to being district governor is to really look at that issue around the Rotary world and to try and figure out some things that can really help move our district forward. One of them is called Rotary on the Outside. So if you think about it today in this building, nobody can see us. You'd be surprised how many people who are not Rotarians believe that we're a secret society and wear hats and have funny handshakes. And which, I think that wearing hats would be really great. But, so the thing is, we really want to break down that view and to really show that we're really accessible and welcoming, and we really want more hands to help us. Because the fact is, when I talk about my own club, is that, you know, we have a huge foundation but declining membership. So I always say that if there's just me and one other person left, that's fine, because then I'm going to be like Santa, I'm going to have a lot of money to give out. But however, it's much nicer to do it when you're doing it with friends and with more people. So we really hope that you'll grow. So we have some ideas for that. The first thing is that for my fellow state fair aficionado there, I love the state fair with a passion. I've won 5 blue ribbons in flower arranging. You get really nice parking when you do flower arranging, so that's also a really big bonus. But I love it so much. It really gives me joy. And so I have a secret fantasy to be a florist. But when I moved to Minnesota, I asked, well, where do Minnesotans go? And they said, oh, they all go to the state fair. And I've experienced county fairs before in the UK, but when I went to the state fair, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. It was the best thing in the universe. There's something for everybody. And so when I thought about, again, Rotary on the outside, I thought, well, where can we go where there's the largest proportion of Minnesotans in the same environment that we can really, really display who we are? And it was the state fair. You know, they probably won't let you kind of stand up in a Taylor Swift concert and say, oh, hello, we're Rotary. So the state fair would do it. And so we're having an amazing conference there. Registration just closed yesterday, but I know it's not closed yet on the website. So if you haven't signed up, please sign up today. Brian is going to be in the parade, and so we want everybody to follow, you know, to come and support him in that as well. So, sorry. So then, so the next thing then we're going to do is that, and all of my presidents sort of voted on this, and that we're also going to do a massive membership campaign in September. And if you do your membership campaigns at other times, then go ahead. Your club is doing it just right, so don't be shy to do whatever you're doing. But we're going to make it very, very public with a media campaign and billboards and things like that. And sometimes people might think, especially as a business owner, like, oh, well, isn't a billboard kind of a waste of money, and what are you doing? Well, the truth is that 9 out of 10 Rotarians are really shy to recommend other people into their clubs. So this is going to be a very, and including myself, I've always been kind of a reticent referrer. Because believe it or not, Brian, I'm fairly shy, and and so this way it's going to make you feel very, very comfortable to go out and do that. So then when you look at, so then for me, I hate to do things slowly. I always want to do everything now, and so Rotary's goal for all clubs for probably the last 2 decades have been, please grow by 1 person every year, and that's been your goal. And I thought, that's killing Rotary by doing that. And so I wanted to know the fastest way to grow, real kind of new Rotary. And the idea that Iowa has done, 25% of Iowa have these, and they're called sub-clubs. And essentially, if you think about your own club, so when you meet now at lunch, there are many people that can't belong to your club. So you probably can't have teachers, you can't have doctors and dentists. There's a huge amount of professionals and other people that can't join you right now. And so many clubs are opening one at a different time, but it's part of you. You take 1 or 2 members from your first club and then have everybody help you build the second club, and you can visit the second club and they can visit you, but it's really part of your organization. And so some of the presidents are doing it by time. So my club, again, we're going to have 9 at night, so you can also be a member at night. And so if you imagine in Golden Valley how many professionals can't come, or how many business owners can't come to your lunch, but they could probably come in the evening. The other thing is that Rotary International did a massive survey, and I kid you not, they asked 1 million. They had 1 million inputs on this plan, like 1 million people, and they actually explained how they got there. And so they were asking people that weren't Rotarians, why would you join, and what would make you join? And there were 2 things. They want fellowship, and it means pure fellowship, so really getting to know each other, not standing and listening to a speaker. They just want to be together in a room. And the second thing was service. And so newer members are looking for less structure. So we all love this, and I love my very formal traditional club. but new people tend to want something different. And so it's creating the new within your club. And I always say this is the year of and. Like, all of you are here for a reason, because you love this environment and the meeting time and how you do. So it's keeping what you have, but and kind of putting another kind of sub-club or two with you to kind of increase your membership. And every time you do a service project or you need a new volunteer, you have more hands kind of on deck to help you. So my beautiful presidents, and we'd been training for a year, I had taken this to them and said, essentially, we used to call it one club, two meeting times. And so the thought was to try and have a lot of our clubs open up new clubs at different meeting times. Well, my presidents are exceptional, and the ideas that they started coming up with were very, very different. I have a club in our district that wants to open 3 or 4 of them in a single year. And essentially they said that they want, so that the ideas that I've heard so far, there have been wine clubs, gardening clubs, eco clubs, conference clubs. It's been all sorts of, and then sometimes different timing. And I'll tell you kind of the example of this one that I'll talk about gardening. So if I said, Brian, I said, I in my club want to open a gardening sub-club, you'd look at me and you say, Sharon, you're off your mind. Gardening is not Rotary. What are you thinking? You're ruining Rotary. And I would counter and say, my sub-club is going to meet 2 times a month. And the one is fellowship. And when you think about gardening, we can go and visit everybody's gardens. We can go internationally and visit all of those gardens in the UK and in Singapore and all the beautiful gardens around the world. So we can make friends with all of these Rotary clubs. And then for our service part, my club did an organic farm down in Ecuador a few years ago. And if you think about climate change, is that all the agricultures in all the different countries is changing because of the weather. And so if you imagine just the catastrophe in terms of agriculture and feeding people, my new little Your Gardening Club would be busy forever connecting universities and companies and countries and environments to be able to do that. So that's how you can do it. So I would encourage all of you to go out in the grass, you're on the golf course, and look up and be creative and think, what sub-club might belong in your club that would make sense. And it might be, the easiest one is always to think of professionals in the evening, but you may have musicians around the world, and you can think of, and then if you say, okay, well, give us our top 20 ideas of what we would actually do around that, and there you go. So we're asking all of our presidents to do that. We're going to have another fundraising Magic Memories dinner, which I'll tell you about more, because I want to get to a couple of questions. We also have we're going to do a vaccination trip to India for polio, because we won't be able to do it for very much longer. And so I really, really wanted to go and do that. And I was so jealous of everybody with this close and dropping their little drops of polio. I thought, I really want to do that. So we're going to do that in the first quarter of this year. We're just waiting for the Indian government to tell us when the day is. Then one of the clubs that I visited was the Bahamas. And during last year, I have a good friend that lives there. And when I was there, they ate conch fritters for lunch. And then at the end of their meeting, they all get up and dance. And I was like, wow, this is really great. I really loved it. And I said, I'll be back. And so we're going to be back in a very big fashion, is that Carnival Cruise Lines has agreed to take 10,000 pounds of goods for free from Miami down to the Bahamas. And so what we're going to do is we're going to ask the Bahamian clubs exactly what they need. They'll give us their list. We'll spread that around the district, and then anyone who wants to come on the cruise can come and deliver it as well and have a good time in the Bahamas in May, which is wonderful. And I told Brian specifically that this year we want to work really, really hard in the first 3 to 4 months on membership and really drive our members up, and then truly party the whole year after that. So once we've all got our really good numbers, then we're just going to have a good time. And so the plan is, work a little and then really party. As you know, 2029, the Rotary International Convention is coming to Minneapolis. And so that seems so far away, except for it's not. It is truly our Super Bowl, and Rotary International arranges the big events. They arrange the convention and all the speakers, but it's actually the local area that does all of the tours and the other events around it. So I'm telling my club we need to go back to spouses of Rotarians, alumni, anyone that was ever connected to our club whatsoever, and say, please join, because we have the biggest party to arrange in 5 years, and we really want to make it spectacular. So I'm asking all presidents to pick one international club a year, so for the next 5 years, to really befriend. You can send each other video messages, send each other toasts and cheers, and visit each other, and pretty much say that we're going to host you when you come here. So I would just take a vote of where everybody loves to travel and where they want to make friends, and then start approaching those clubs. And then the next thing we're going to do as a district is, when I was sitting in my Rotary training, I was told about a new partnership between the United Nations and Rotary, and their interest is in clean water, but not the clean drinking water, it's the let's make sure our lakes and rivers stay clean. And so I was sitting there thinking, well, you know, the Mississippi starts here. What if we made friends with every single Rotary club down the Mississippi and did a very significant water project with the United Nations? And when I think about the International Convention coming here, I've lived all over the world and all over kind of the United States as well. And when I lived in New York City, everyone would come and visit me, but no one visits me in Minnesota. And so it's really, I mean, when I'm ultimately retired, I'm going to work on the tourist board. And so on July 4th, if I go on Facebook and I say, oh, I'm watching the fireworks, I'll get some thumbs up. But when I say I'm watching the fireworks next to the Mississippi, the Europeans go wild, because the Mississippi is to them what the Amazon and the Nile is to you. It's so exotic. We were taught how to spell it when we were young, and it's really exciting. And so the thought of creating this massive kind of water project around the Mississippi and really asking our international friends to come to the Mississippi would be wild. We'll have an innovation prize, and I'll tell you more about that during the year. If you have been put into leadership this year and you're thinking, oh, I don't even know where to start, there is the Learning Center, which is on the right, that has courses for everything. I have done all of the courses because I wanted to make sure I knew everybody's jobs. And there are so many resources in there. For example, if you've been made the membership chair this year and you think, I don't even know where I'm going to start, you actually have every single resource you need there. They give you, I mean, there's sheets on how to do it, and it's wonderful, because Rotary International, their role is really to create all of this structure and strategy and resources for your clubs, so you don't have to reinvent it. And then the action plan was created to create more vibrant clubs. So if you think, oh, you know, we need to increase activity and increase what we're doing, then that literally is the how-to guide on how to do it. So I can see Brian wondering, you know, in the back of the room now, so we're almost at time. So my hope for your club is that we're going to go to infinity and beyond this year. You know, that your fundraising goal, you could do a really big one this year. Your membership, just keep doing what you're doing, but it would be lovely to double yourselves with another sub-club or two beneath you. My club decided when I was giving this talk that they just thought about another sub-club that they wanted to do in addition to the one. We have a huge Ukrainian presence, and so they're going to do one for Ukrainians as well, which is pretty wild. So there you go. So that's the year. I love your club. Anytime you need anything from us, you know, don't be shy. We have all sorts of resources. So, and some clubs use us a lot, and some clubs don't. And I always think, don't be a stranger. So thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Don't go away, we have something for you. We put together a set of note cards of pictures of Golden Valley. This was a project that Peggy started, and it was really neat. So there's a package of award-winning photographs of Golden Valley, and they're note cards. And for those handwritten notes that you ever want to make, there's that for you. And could you give another round of applause? So if I could get you all to rise.